moment. I don't know if I was like 5 or 6, but I decided after watching the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie, which I liked, but I had notes about, I would rewrite it. So me and my Crayola and my notebook were just like rewriting Buffy the Vampire Slayer. My name is Sharai Bohannon, and I am a horror podcaster, horror reviewer / essayist, journalist. I don't know. Those words seem big and important. I am also an aspiring screenwriter if you're hiring, and I am a playwright. And I live in Minnesota. I'm trying to escape Minnesota. It's been almost 4 years. A Nightmare on Fear Street started in August 2020. I started reconnecting with my friend I went to undergrad with, and we started watching horror movies and drinking long distance like we used to do when we were in the same school. He actually produced my first one-act play. And San Diego Comic-Con was happening for free on Zoom because that was a weird, cool pocket where all the things that we could never afford to go to were just there for us online because people were like, what do we do? Everybody's quarantined. How do we still make it happen? And because I always wanted to go to Comic-Con, I checked out some of the panels, one of which was this like really cool queer panel with like Don Mancini and Brian Fuller and Nate Beaver, and that's how I found out about Nate Beaver, and I became obsessed with her. She actually inspired me to talk to my friend I was watching long distance horror movies with and drinking to be like, what if we did a podcast on Zoom? That's how A Nightmare on Fear Street became what it is. We just want to talk about horror through intersectional lenses because I am a Black woman. He is a queer man in Arkansas. We love a lot of horror movies that don't love us. What if we talk about it? What if we talk about why they make our asses itch, to borrow from a different coast of mine, Zero Gravity? What if we talk about where they failed us, what could have been better, and why it upsets us a little bit? And we thought 5 friends would listen. We are going on year 6. Is that math? I think that's math because we're starting 2020. It's been a ride. It's free therapy. It has been a constant thing. I do a couple of times a week to keep us ahead. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I started writing plays, and again, I was like, I don't know what a play even really is. I just got into this. I wanted to do TV. And I wrote this one act called The Waiting Room. I was just trying some cool, weird shit. And so that was the first time I got to see my work go up in our little black box theater at that school. Listen to people just sort of ooh and ah and cry. It's kind of an adrenaline rush. And I love that. I love sitting in the back of a theater when my shit's going up. And even when people are talking shit because they don't know I'm there, it's the best thing in the world. You're getting actual feedback. And I love when there's like, oh, what the fuck is this? This is weird shit. Who wrote this weird shit? And they're like, Sharai, can you come up? And I'm like, yes, thank you. I wrote the weird shit. I also love when people scream, sometimes because they're drunk, but I'll take it. I have had a few plays get produced all around the country and one in London. Most of them are very dark comedies and or sci-fi horror plays. Even when they're not genre, there's like a dead body or something. So who knows what the genre really is. I really love my short plays because that's where I get to get weird. A lot of them were written in 24-hour play fest, so you don't have a lot of time to get in your way. And so you just get to sort of be your own best dark self. I really, really, really love, well, that just happened, which is, I don't know what genre she fits in. I'm gonna say dark comedy, but it's 3 people in an office and a co-worker just ended herself on accident on a carpet that is new, and they are just like talking about the office party that she's gonna stop them from going to if this dead body becomes a thing, and how do they get out of telling people this dead body has happened. Another one is Emma Fitzwater Doesn't Have Any Answers For You. It's 3 non-binary people and they're hanging out, getting high, playing on a new app, and the app is like answering questions like an 8-ball, and one of them asks something about the future and the app is like, no. And it sort of devolves from there. It just gets really creepy and really upsetting, and that was the last time I heard a drunk girl scream while one of my plays was happening. I wrote a thesis play for my MFA that nobody should have gone to that school for, called Coexistent, which has kind of been the biggest play I've written. She's the one that gets produced the most. I really love that people keep resonating with her, but also it's kind of sad because it's definitely about a lot of things that should have been fixed before I was in college, and they are still not fixed, and I've been out of college for a couple days, and that's just the way the earth crumbles. I also have a couple other full lengths that I'm really jazzed about. One is In the End, which is very personal, and I think that's part of the reason why that one is sort of stuck in limbo, but she did make the Kilroy's list in 2020. Huge thing for me as a playwright is they honor women and non-binary playwrights who are not getting produced, and I am the most not produced professionally bitch you'll ever meet. I am mostly produced in fringes, community colleges, and it was really cool to be like, I have a career. It's not a career I thought I would have, but also I finally get to do this really cool thing. If you know me, you know how I start off as a joke and then it becomes a serious thing. I was the founder and co-artistic director of Punching LaBute. Neil LaBute had gotten some award or some production that he does not deserve as usual. And me and all of my other friends in theater who are women were just talking about it because we were like, how? Why? Why is it still happening? And I was just like, it'd be funny if somebody just punched him, LOL. And that joke kept going and going and going. And I was like, what if that was a festival? What if that was a festival that raised money for a women's shelter for abused women? While I was in Chicago, I decided to learn how to produce. I reached out to a lot of playwright friends I admire who are women non-binary. And I was like, hey, I'm doing a thing. If you happen to have a monologue or a short piece and you want to donate it to this charity thing, because again, if you can't pay people, you need to say what you're doing if any money is raised. None of us are getting paid, but if people donate, it's going to this cool charity. They all said, I'm fucking in, because they also have thoughts about Neil LaBute, and they also know that that charity is near and dear to so many of us. As I kept building it, more people were like, could I help? And so I ended up getting one of my friends to be a co-producer, and she made a cool website. We found this awesome place that I don't think no longer lets people host, but back then you could host an event there for a couple bottles of wine, which was right in our budget. And it was one of my favorite nights of theater in Chicago, because it was just people who really wanted to do it, really wanted to punch back at Neil LaBute and the patriarchy and sexism. And we did it for a good cause, which also feels better, because again, I'm always saying you can do anything through spite. That is my favorite motivator. It's the battery in my back. That's why I get up in the morning. That's why I do anything I do. We were actually starting to take in scripts for our next Punching LaBute festival in 2020. And then, yeah, that couldn't happen for obvious reasons. Blerdy Massacre became a thing because as horror people, we are looking for each other. And I was starting to become friends with this awesome person in New York named Zero Gravity. If you know horror community, horror people, you know Zero Gravity. If you don't, change your life. I feel like me and Zero are friends enough to where I could have Zero on my show, A Nightmare on Fear Street. And so we had her on for this Sugar Hill episode, which is one of my favorite episodes, because you would think that we'd known each other for years as opposed to a few months online. I was like, I don't know her podcast, but I should know her podcast, because I was just start listening to that. And she said she didn't have one, and I thought she was lying to me. What do you mean you don't have a podcast? Do you want a podcast? Because my friendship is also making people do work and slight veiled threats. We have a podcast now that is turning, actually we are in our 4th year, Blerdy Massacre. She should have had a podcast already. I don't know why she didn't. And she took to it like nobody's fucking business. She just throws herself in, learn how to edit audio. She's putting us on applications for cool shit, which is why we're outside so much, sometimes too much. She's that bitch who's like, what if we try for Comic-Con New York? And I'm just like, what? And then we're at New York Comic Con 2 years in a row. That is one of my favorite things I do. It is very healing because it is a podcast that is from a Black femme lens. And so you don't have to catch anybody up or explain yourself to people. I can just be like, this is how I feel about this. It's just like, I know. And we can go from there. It's just wild because you do these things and you see the numbers, but you don't really understand these numbers mean that these people are actually listening and these people know how to say my weird name now. And so it's always just kind of like a warm hug when you're out at a festival or a con or doing something ridiculous and you hear Sharai, and then we'll talk to you about how you roasted Tim Burton. I've peaked, yeah. I was sort of coming into being a journalist around the time Shrill was coming out, and it was the first time I saw a fat woman on TV learn how to have self-esteem. Granted, it's not completely perfect because she had the Black sidekick, even though we love that actor and we love that character. Whoa, what do you mean there could be a whole world of big girls in bikinis and nobody's self-conscious and nobody's crying and nobody's being body shamed? What is this? One of my pieces I'm proudest of that is not horror related is that Shrill piece that ran for the Every Girl. I love all TV. I love a lot of movies. I love a lot of books, but also I'm a horror bitch. It has been fun to merge all of my identities in these articles I write for Dread Central and Horror Press LLC and Horror Movie Blog, and even my one Fangoria piece about Eve's Bayou. I'm healing every article that I come up with and is a part of me being like, hey, guess what? Fat girls also are horny. Hey, guess what? Black girls can also be basic. This little weirdo over here grew up on David Cronenberg too. I have been at Dress Central for almost 4 years. I started September 2021. It's the longest I've decided to stay at a job, and that is definitely in part because Mary Beth McAndrews is the coolest. She was the first editor-in-chief that I've had that I didn't want to fight and could pay me. There are two things that you don't normally get. Either they can pay you, or they can't pay you, or you want to fight them. She was looking for writers, and she was very upfront about what she could pay at the time. And so I was like, I love that. That's more than a lot of people are paying, because a lot of people pay nothing. We decided I would be the list girl because I am better at thinking of things in small bursts. Condensing my personality and my dark sense of humor is some of the better stuff. And I can still be a weirdo. Like, I can like hit the Discord to be like, Mary Beth, I just noticed that people in the yellow sweaters in the horror movies are driving the narrative, even if they're not supposed to be the lead, and it's fucking depressing. And so here's a list for like The Passenger and like A Quiet Place Day One. Or I can be like, hey, they're talking about the Lost Boys. Could I pick out some hotties that I think should be in the Lost Boys? Okay, I just want to fucking stare at. And yeah, I just go to town. I find a way to be myself, whoever I am that day. I don't know if it'll be funny or if it'll be sincere. I just did one for David Cronenberg, and it was a lot more sincere than I thought it was gonna be. I called him Grandpa Gooey a couple times, but still, I was like, this is the king of horror, and he deserves a little bit of respect. But also, he's fucking gross. So that was fun. I also did a monster fucker one because I was trying to outdo myself, and I was like, what haven't I done? Monster fuckers, but not like everybody else's, because everybody else is like cute vampires, cute werewolves, and I was like, Attack of the Killer Clowns, they got fucking dump trucks. Let's talk about that. Like, and so these are the pitches Mary Beth gets from me, and I love that she puts up with me for almost 4 years. Nia DaCosta gave us Katie Me in 2021, which was the telling of that story that I needed, and it asked so many important questions of the audience. And a lot of white critics were like, how dare you decenter me and ask me to do better? Fuck you. And then she gave us The Marvels, which is one of the better Marvel movies we've gotten in so fucking long, and they were jealous of that too. Fuck them. I love Nia DaCosta. Obviously, I'm a Ryan Coogler stan account. He gave us Black Panther, and it turned around and gave us Sinners. He has other movies, and I should see those, but like, I know Free Throw Station is gonna be heavy on my spirit, and I don't want it. I know it's magnificent because he don't miss. If you're not into Ryan Coogler's bag, you should be. I am also here for Jordan Peele because you have to be as a Blurred. He's done 3 movies and not one misstep. I also just really, really fucking love Korean cinema. The Call 2020, it's the Korean one on Netflix, not the other one about the phone call. It's these 2 girls, 2 different timelines, calling each other, and one of them has a secret. There's The Closet. Oh my god. That exorcism is so fucking fun. Sleep, fan-fucking-tastic. Exuma, long as a bitch. MoMA, put it on the walls. Coming back to America, I'm a Josh Rubin stan account. He's directed 3 movies, and he wrote the first one of those 3, Scare Me. And I fucking love that he understands how to be funny without begging you to laugh and without punching down on people. And then Works Within, I was like, what do you mean he did it again? And also, he made Sam Richardson the lead for the first time in Sam Richardson's career, as far as I can tell. And then he just turned around with Hard Eyes, which is my new favorite baby. Like, I fucking love a slasher, and I'm in love with Hard Eyes. And so I really go out for Josh Rubin's work. While we're talking about Josh Rubin, I also just really fucks with Radio Silence. Their horror comedies, since Ready or Not, have just gotten better and better and better. Those are some of the filmmakers I really fucks with. I am also gonna shout out to Michael Kennedy. He is writing things that are very queer and very fun and very endearing. A lot of them have a lot of heart, and I'm not a heart bitch, and so it takes me a second to be like, One of my favorite Christmas time slashers is... It's A Wonderful Knife. I think she's fun. I think she's energetic. I think Justin Long is doing some of the best work I've ever seen Justin Long do. I got tired of seeing dudes do all the stuff. Most of the movies are dudes do the things and the woman gets fridged. Dudes do the thing and she's at home. And so when I thought I would learn how to read the first couple times, I started writing stories where girls got to do the things. Girls got to go to the moon. Girls got to fight the werewolves. Girls got to slay the vampires. My most pretentious moment, I don't know if I was like 5 or 6, but I decided after watching the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie, which I liked, but I had notes about, I would rewrite it. So me and my Crayola and my notebook were just like rewriting Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I wish I had that notebook somewhere because I would love to see if the words are even real words. And I would love to see how much lines up with the TV show, which I ended up loving, even though fuck Josh Whedon. I never was truly afraid of things because, again, I am just spiteful. So when I won the argument with my mother to let me start watching horror movies when I was like 4-ish, the deal was, fine, you can watch it, but don't come crying to me and give nightmares. And so I didn't have nightmares. I did have tea parties with like Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger. It was really lit. But the first movie I remember scaring me, and I watched everything so Fast and Furious, and I would rewatch things because I was studying it, even though I didn't know I was studying it because I was 4. I thought I was just being weird. But the first time I remember a horror movie actually living up to that whole scary movie title was the original When a Stranger Calls. If you've not seen that, the first 25 minutes, 24 and a half, straight terror. This babysitter is being terrorized with the person on the phone, knocking at the door, she's drinking. I was like, what do you mean scary movies can be scary? I thought they were supposed to be fun. That movie gave me the chills. It gave me the terror that I had been missing. I've been trying to chase that high my whole life. Every time I watch a horror movie, I'm just like, oh, it's not that. And now it's become a movie I have rewatched the most. So when I'm having like a moment or I'm having like a really bad day, I'll put that on and I'll watch that first 25-ish minutes where she's just being terrorized right up till the police show up. And I'm just like, okay, whatever I was going through, it's fine. My tea parties with Michael Myers as a kid were wild because I had never actually had tea. I just knew I had a tea set somebody gifted us, but it just seemed cool because the kids on TV were having tea. So I was like, I'm gonna have tea with my imaginary friends. And so it'd just be me and Mikey sitting there, pinkies up, sipping. I would give him the gossip of my brothers. I'm just like, well, you know, he snuck in last night. And you know, so-and-so put that in the stereo. So it got me fucked up because of this. And he would listen. And I liked that because Freddie did not listen. Freddie was a chatty little bitch. And even as a kid, I was like, I think I should be the main character in my imagination. That was my first time being like, hey, we're gonna like trade Freddie out for Michael. And Michael was very calm and collected, as we know, and that was good for me. My comfort horror is as chaotic as everything else I do. The Autopsy of Jane Doe is one of my favorites. As Above, So Below, Scare Me, and Worms Within. I also just really love Sugar Hill. That should have been a whole fucking universe. I also fucking love Ready or Not. I've seen that like 10-ish times, but I'm gonna circle back for Pumpkinhead, who's my favorite baby face, who never did anything wrong in his life. He was summoned to do a job, and he fucking did it. I love Lance Henriksen, but you should let him work, because again, vengeance needs to be had. If you've not seen Pumpkinhead, please watch it. Don't watch the sequels. I'm saving you. Halloween, the original Halloween is the perfect movie. I love the second one. Some of the other ones I have attachments to, because again, I was a Mikey Myers fan account, but like, But that first one is when I was like, I think I might be a film nerd. I knew so much trivia about it because when we had AMC around Halloween, and they would tell the stories in between, I was just there recording it in my little brain, and so I saw the pictures of Jamie Lee Curtis picking up leaves because they're filming in California, not Illinois. I heard the stories of how John Carpenter added the music after people told him the movie wasn't scary. And I think it's one of the reasons I lean towards independent horror movies, because I know what independent horror movies can do with the right crew. I am also a Freddy Krueger girl, because Wes Craven was my first favorite director. Nightmare on Elm Street and Nightmare on Elm Street, Wes Craven's New Nightmare mean the world to me. I think that some days they are better than the screens for me, and I know that's blasphemy for the millennials, and some of y'all want to fight me, but again, I am a Wes Craven girl. Within the last couple years of the podcast, I had to admit I am a slasher bitch. It's fine. I always put on a slasher when I need comfort or when I need to decompress. I'm basic. I like brunch. It's cool. What I've been doing over the last couple of years is watching and rewatching 80s slashers. So I'm revisiting ones I've not seen since I was a child, and I'm seeking out new ones, and that's how I found out cool shit. Like, for instance, Tom Cruise's first movie, his first role in a movie was in a horror slasher called He Knows You're Alone, and it's a bop. It's a fucking bop. We got to meet Armand Mastriani, the man who directed the movie, because somebody sent him our episode and he didn't know our episode was already done. So he was like, can I be on it? And I was like, no, but do you want to be interviewed? Because I'm a greedy little bitch. If I'm not seeking out comfort or decompression, I want to feel something that fucks me up a little bit. My favorite Kevin Bacon is Stir of Echoes. I know people are like Tremors, Friday 13th, and other ones, but that's my favorite one. Because if you've not seen it, there's a scene when he finds the thing he's looking for that really fucked me up, because I was living in my second haunted house as a child. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And then I have new trust issues. I am just looking for something that's gonna rattle me and it's gonna shake me for the good reasons, as opposed to the, oh no, this man is gross reasons, because there's a lot of that and I'm not here for that. I want the scares. I want the, this could happen to you. I want the, did you see that walk by you a second ago? The psychological shit. The horror community, I think, is a good idea. I don't think it always attains what it thinks it's doing. We're a community. There's nothing wrong here. But the second somebody's like, hey, this is a little anti-black, or do you know what colorism is? There's all this yelling and pushback. I've been very fortunate because I'm a spiteful bitch, and so I match energy and then surpass it when I'm given that. But I know a lot of people who've run into that and have just sort of left the space. The greater horror community, I think, is still an idea. But within that idea, I found my community, and those are the people that I look up to, and the people who I collaborate with, and the people who inspire me, and the people who make me a better person. I think that you find your tribe no matter where you go. It's always finding the people who are gonna keep you accountable and also help you go, no, this is not you this time. This is this other person. This is this other thing. This is systemic. And also are gonna like hold you down while you're battling some things, because again, I am a Gemini and I am spiteful, and so sometimes I'm like, no, I cannot rest. This has to change now. That is what friendship is. The friendship is like, I'm gonna hold her back while she goes and change this thing that should have been changed forever ago. I think we should actually listen to filmmakers who say racist things instead of being like, that's not what he meant, and fighting in the streets. I think the first time he says my aesthetic doesn't have room for black and brown people, we should be like, excuse you? Instead of people being like, you know, he's an artist. I think when black people are telling you it's weird that somebody has put out 4 movies of his own devices and it's been all white cast, you should hear that no instead of being defensive. I'm just saying, oh, these are all white movies from this dude. I'm not saying if you like them, you are an asshole. Most of my podcasts and most of the people I know who do podcasts and YouTubes and things are doing it because we are tired of sitting at home having these thoughts and having these thoughts in our like friend circles when we know it's a bigger problem. Because that's why horror noir changed so many lives. It's why The Black Guy Dies First is a book people should have as required reading. These tropes keep showing up, and it's because nobody's challenging the filmmakers in the studios to do it. Because sometimes a filmmaker might have the thought to be like, hey, I shouldn't have an all-white cast, but they're not gonna really like fight their studio exec. Or the studio exec does not give a shit that this person only wants to work with white people. Intersectionality adds so many layers to so many basic stories. I spend a lot of time in my microphone yelling. And that's why I have so many podcasts and so many jobs that I'm writing for. There's unfortunately still people in 2025, the year of our Lord Akela Cooper, our Lord Ryan Coogler, our Lord Jordan Peele, who will just be like, I don't need black people because that's not my aesthetic, Tim Burton. Either you can see a world that's not all white, or you can't see the world. And if you can't see the world, then perhaps you should be making movies. Everything is political, specifically horror. I think that saying your art, if you want to call what that person was doing art, it's not political. It's telling us all we need to know about you as a person, because that means you were really just doing bullshit. And I hate that because the actors involved in that seem really cool. I love following one of them on Threads. He just annihilates incels every day. It's gorgeous. And for the person in charge of that to be like, this isn't political, invite the Nazis in. I thought that was some real bullshit. I look at the horror community and I'm just like, are you gonna collect your friend? Are you? Again, it was not my franchise though, and so what do I know? What do I know? I grew up in the 90s. I never saw positive representation, and when I did, we were sidekicks. We were the "Are you okay, girl?" We were in those same stereotypes that are still being repeated today. We were the mammies like we see in Annabelle. We are throwing African women off balconies still because she's there to support people and to like die for them because they're white. We have so many gorgeous black women in their 40s who are always the praying grandmother and or the maid and or these other roles that should not exist anymore. And I'm just like, do you not understand women in their 40s are Halle Berry? So why doesn't she get to do this? Why is she always in like the slave roles? Also, why are you still making slave movies? This is not your story to tell. I think growing up with all of that and being the spiteful little bitch that I am, it's why I'm so loud about representation, because it does fucking matter. I would have killed to see more basic black girls on my screen. I would have killed to see more people figuring out what to do with their hair. I would have killed to see more people with different bodies, because again, I am a bigger girl. That's not normalized. And so you grow up hearing all the internalized things from the people around you, and you grow up seeing and hearing what is on the TV and in the magazines. It seeps in, and so you have a little bit of self-hatred, and you have low self-esteem, and you have all these other issues. And then when you finally say, fuck that shit, you're like, I really lived with that for so long. I really let all of that happen. For instance, horror noir was when I started checking out blaxploitation movies. Because again, I know that the field of criticism is very white, and part of the reason I'm a Rotten Tomato critic is because of spite. The way Tales from the Hood is disrespected on that website is one of the things that gets me out of bed in the morning to fight people and yell every day. Why am I still letting white criticism tell me that blaxploitation movies are shit? Clearly, they don't know things. but horror noir was when it was like, what is Sugar Hill? Oh my God, Blackula was when? That was the first black vampire lead? Are you serious? And it's in the DNA of all these other black vampire movies? The amount of people in 2025 who put together a whole pictogram of white faces to be like, who's the best horror girl this year? You didn't see any of these movies with these Asian leads? You didn't see any of these movies with these black leads? Lupita was fucking working last year and you didn't think of Lupita? And that's when I am like, group chat, I've lost my mind, and I come back with a list that I don't at the person, I don't talk to the person. Here's a bunch of black-led movies. Here's a bunch of women of color-led movies. Same with the directors. People have to be like, who's your director, Rushmore? And it's a bunch of white dudes. Unfortunately, horror is very white dude-centered, and so a lot of our favorites are made by white dudes, but I know that those are not the only directors. I think that we are still unlearning all the things that we picked up as kids, and it's because society and the media just does not give no shits. They are like, you need to look like this, you need to be size 5, you need to have straight hair, you cannot be different, you cannot have a personality, and that's not the real world. I would really love to see myself finish transitioning from playwright, journalist, into screenwriter. In a perfect world, I would be in somebody's writer's room for a television show that is genre-based and we have non-white leads, which is fucking hard to do. I would love to be in a writer's room where we are gonna shake it the fuck up and we're gonna be like, this is like black and brown people, no stereotypes. We got it. I am not represented at the moment. I would love to find representation again that actually like gets what I'm doing and they get the horror space and they have a great read of the horror genre. But also I am going to figure out how to make my own things because it's fucking time. I have no idea where the money's gonna come from, but as my mentor always said, the net will appear. So I'm gonna just step out with that. I'm in my little heart and we're gonna see what happens. Hopefully good things, hopefully some things, and live and learn because you have to go ahead and make your shitty things so you can find out how to make the good shit. I'm not allowed to have pets. I'm going to take care of myself. I killed a succulent. They're like, it's so easy. It's not easy. I killed a succulent. It took 4 years, but I killed it.